Welcome back to the Badass Reset Club. I am your host, Heather Yancey, Hashimoto's warrior of 22 years. And I'm here to tell you today that sometimes when you have an autoimmune disease, you need to hit that reset. We're going to specifically talk about hitting the reset with Hashimoto's disease and also dive into a little bit more about weight loss when you have Hashimoto's. So if you are in this camp, buckle up. You're going to learn some good stuff today. I want to just first share with you, what is Hashimoto's disease? It is an autoimmune disease. It is when your immune system gets very confused and starts attacking your thyroid. Super not fair, I know, but nobody said life was fair. And it makes weight loss especially difficult. You can feel so many different symptoms when you have Hashimoto's. And it does affect predominantly women over men. That can be a whole other podcast as to why we're seeing women affected with it more than men. And we'll talk about 7 different things today that can be very helpful when you need to hit that reset or just for following along with your Hashimoto's to stay feeling good as possible. So we know that Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune disease. It's also the most popular form of hypothyroidism in the Western world. And when we talk about symptoms, they can often be absent for a while. I mean, the truth is, we will have Hashimoto's antibodies 7 to 10 years before we start being symptomatic. So it can be brewing for a long time. But once those symptoms come out, and I'm talking about the most common symptoms that we see, like weight gain, excessive fatigue, feeling cold, constipation, brain fog, poor memory, joint pain, muscle pain, and depression. I want you to think, what do those symptoms sound like? And maybe it was a red flag in your head right away. Maybe you were like, gosh, that really sounds like perimenopause and menopause. You're absolutely right. And that is why it's so important for you to work closely with your doctor. Make sure that you have a doctor that you know, like, trust, who's going to help you to decipher, are these my sex hormones? Are these thyroid hormones? What is happening? So for me, I told you I'm a warrior of 22 years. I was 30 years old when I went to my postpartum checkup with baby number 2, had him in the little basket, was sitting there with the doctor, so proud of my baby. Everything was going well. I was a little tired, but so happy. And my doctor said, "You have a very generous thyroid." And I said, "Thank you." And she said, "No, we're going to go get that checked." And I immediately thought, I know where my thyroid is, but it's not big. I don't notice that. She had a great eye. She had a good pulse on what was happening because I went to an endocrinologist, sure enough, was diagnosed with both hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. Now, Hashimoto's is a specific blood work that you need to do. And if you have the certain antibodies, you have Hashimoto's. So one of the big culprits on those symptoms, and the one that was first that I listed, was weight gain. And why is it so hard to lose weight when you have Hashimoto's? It's a bitch for 95% of the people that I know. It is a bitch. Since the thyroid directly impacts your metabolism, losing weight can be a real struggle when you have Hashimoto's. So you got to think you've got this underactive thyroid. It's significantly slowing down your metabolism, meaning you're burning fewer calories than you typically would. But you have to also think that it does impact your energy levels. So when you've got low energy, you're not feeling like fueling your body well, like eating healthy. You just kind of want to go towards that snacky stuff. And you also don't feel like moving and working out. So it's this vicious cycle. And there's one more piece to why it's hard to lose weight with Hashimoto's, and that is the stress. Stress can exacerbate symptoms and it can also make weight gain slow down. So we want to think about the thyroid function is affected by so many things. What do we have control over? Well, more than you think. But when it comes to stress, we need to make sure, just like everything else in life, that we have this beautiful toolbox that we can pull out the different pieces that we need to help navigate and manage the stress. We can't get rid of the stress, but we can absolutely help manage it. All right, I am going to share with you a fantastic article, and this was from Diet and Disease back in 2019. It is from a master dietitian named Joe Leach, and he has 7 different tips. Now, most of these tips have to do with weight loss in with Hashimoto's, but I'm going to tie it into when you have a flare-up and when you need to hit the reset. These are things that I have used, that I recommend, that have worked for me, and that I'm currently working on. So let's dive in. The first one is check your meds. So I know that 30-year-old Heather was like, hell no, am I going to be on meds for life, when my doctor told me I would. I've now since learned that my medication dosage might fluctuate, but this is something that I am going to need to take. I've just gotten used to the fact that I need these meds, and it's okay. Checking your medication to make sure that your levels are where they should be, or inching down, or more optimal. So I do a quarterly panel with my doctor. We look at my thyroid quarterly. And I know my doctor is looking at multiple things. She's not just looking at the basic T4, T3, and TSH. She's looking at the free T3. She's looking at how things convert. So I feel very comfortable with my doctor and working with my meds. Now, here's something that I've learned that is something that I've been working on, because, yep, I need to hit the reset. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. When we take the medication at the same time every day, it works better for us. So this is really interesting. You need to be fasted, you need to be on an empty stomach, but taking them at the same time is going to help you with the absorption. Here's what I used to do. I would put my T3 and my T4 next to a little cup of water next to my bed. And in the middle of the night, at some point, I would wake up, grab my pills, slam it down with a couple sips of water, and go back to bed. That might be at 2 a.m., that might be at 4 a.m., who knows? Just when I wake up, I take them. I've trained myself to do that for so many years because I'm a coffee junkie. I like my coffee first thing when I get up in the morning, and you can't do that if you've just taken your pills. You have to wait. So I want my red light, my coffee, and my morning routine at the same time every day. So here's what I've done. I've decided that, and I'm an early riser, I'm an early bird. I set my alarm every day. I make it to an alarm maybe once or twice a year. I just get up earlier than my alarm. I'm an early riser. So here's what I've done. I still put out my T3 and my T4, but I've trained myself now to just turn on the little light on my watch, see what time it is. If it's not 5 a.m., I am not taking the pills. And what I'm trying to do is get myself trained to not wake up at 2 and 3 and 4. I want to get to 5, then take my pills, try to go back to sleep. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I just get up and I have water until I can have my coffee, and I still get my red light. But I'm really trying to make it so that I am taking them at the same time to help maximize that. And that might help you too, depending on what your routine is like. I don't know, maybe you're crazy like me and take your pills in the middle of the night. Okay. The second piece of this is to reduce your added sugars and refined starches. You don't have to go totally low carb when you have Hashimoto's, but you do need to reduce the intake of refined sugars and starches, or added sugars and refined starches. This is probably good for everybody, right? Not just people with Hashimoto's, but the average American eats over 77 pounds of sugar a year. And that's not even including sugar substitutes. I am going to put myself in this category. I am an extreme sweet tooth, extreme. If you put me in a room alone with a bag of hot tamales, Swedish fish, it's February, Valentine's, candy hearts, I will have a real hard time not demolishing a bag. I am a sweet tooth. So I have to like really back myself away from sugar or give myself an allotted amount and not have access to the rest. I'll keep going back for those dopamine hits. I mean, that's kind of human nature, but I have been like that since I was a kid. I remember having a Twizzlers fixation in high school, and I used to eat so many bags of Twizzlers, and I used to collect the bags on the back of my door. I would pin them up, and I had hundreds of empty bags of Twizzlers. It just covered my whole back of my bedroom door. I remember my dad telling me, "You're gonna really gain weight if you eat all that candy." And I was like, "I'm fine, good metabolism back then." So recently, I'll share with you, I went to Maui. This was a few weeks ago, and my husband and my daughter and I went. My daughter is 25. She's a lot of fun to hang out with, and we drank. We had some Mai Tais, we had wine, we had rum drinks. Like it was just, we drank. And then I came home from that trip and started to have some sugar situations going on. Like it was Pandora's box. It was open. I was running wild. And so guess how I feel now? Every joint hurts, swollen. I'm extremely swollen. I feel inflamed. I feel lethargic. I'm having flare-ups from something that happened a few weeks ago. So right now is when I am putting the nutrition protocol into 100% overdrive, and I'm trying to quiet down those constant nagging cues for something sugary and get back to homeostasis. All of us want to be in homeostasis, really. So watching added sugars and those refined starches, you know that really we're not supposed to have more than 25 grams of sugar a day. Go check out maybe a day in your life and see what's going on. See if maybe that's a place that you need to tweak and hit the reset. Number 3 is loading up on protein and vegetables. Shocker, right? Yep. We want to make sure that each plate that we're approaching has the right amount of protein and fiber and all of those good vitamins and nutrients and phytonutrients and minerals and all the good stuff. So making sure that you have enough protein for you. And usually what that will look like is like a palm size of protein. That's going to be on your plate when you're building a meal. And then the half of the plate is going to be in vegetables. So I always like to challenge, you load up on the veg, go try different things, get as colorful as you can. The more variety we have, the happier and healthier our guts are going to be. And the more that we're going to help to get our thyroid just, we don't want to say boost that metabolism, but we want to get our thyroid happily humming as best it can. And these lifestyle interventions with your meds are what we need. So remember, when you're looking for proteins too, you're looking for things that are lean meats, seafood, eggs, legumes, dairy. In the article, they throw in nuts as protein. I don't think nuts are a high protein source, but having some nuts are going to be good for you. When we look at the veggies, think leafy veggies, think of your cruciferous veggies. I know that some of that's taboo with Hashimoto's. My doctor recommends them. This dietitian in the article recommends them. I eat them. I feel good with them. You kind of have to go on how you feel too. So cruciferous vegetables like cabbage and broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, that type of thing. Again, the fiber is going to be really important. So I think tracking your fiber is a good thing to do for at least a week and see if you're getting the minimum recommendation of 25 grams. I'm now shooting for higher than that because I'm in the reset. I'm having a flare up. I need to really make sure that I'm doing all the things. Okay, number 4, Selenium, zinc, and iodine. Those are all really important factors for your thyroid. Before you reach for a supplement, look at your food. Always best to add it from foods instead of this, supplement crazy society we live in. We would much rather grab a pill than look at what's in our food. And when we look at what's in our food, we're getting all the other benefits. So it might be healthy fats, it might be vitamins, it might be minerals. You got to think like when I'm taking food in, I'm getting all the things that I need. A pill, not so much, especially when we have questionable regulatory stuff happening. Okay. Selenium, you've got Brazil nuts, tuna, sardines, beef, chicken, eggs, legumes, all good sources of selenium. And there are numbers of recommendations. If you're looking at how much selenium, if you're tracking your food and you're looking at those micronutrients, how much selenium are you getting? They're saying that you need 68 to 91 micrograms of selenium. That's enough to surpass the RDA. Zinc, also a real essential production for your thyroid hormone. It's essential. And we want to think about zinc, like for food, it's going to be shellfish, beef, chicken, nuts and seeds, legumes, eggs, milk, yogurt, things that we typically do get in our diet, the majority of us. You just want to be making sure that you're eating these things on a regular basis so that you're getting enough. And then iodine, again, is going to come from the same type of foods we've been mentioning. Iodine is not much of a concern unless you are a vegetarian or vegan, and then you're going to have perhaps some deficiencies with iodine. So something to pay attention to. When I'm looking at my reset, I am making sure that I'm getting just pieces of these. I don't want to make sure that I'm checking every single thing off. I want to make sure that I'm getting pieces of these consistently, because that is what really helps to shape the change. It doesn't have to be 100%. It has to be small pieces consistently, and you'll get there. Okay, the fifth thing, and this is something that's huge for me. I absolutely believe in this one, and that is think about removing gluten from your diet. I've done it now for so many years. I can't even really remember what life was like when I had gluten. And I'll know immediately if I've been glutened because I look like I'm having quintuplets. I'm completely distended. I hurt. Everything hurts. My stomach hurts. My joints hurt. I'm swollen. My fingers get fat. My ring's hard to move. I know exactly what's happened because I'm so sensitive to it. Now, whether that sensitivity is because I haven't had it in so many years, or I just truly am sensitive to it, or it's all part of my Hashimoto's, I feel better eating gluten-free. I don't love to add in gluten-free foods. They're typically really heavily processed and have a bunch of crap in it that I don't want to eat. My sweet mom, and if you're listening to this, mom, I love you. My sweet mom buys me gluten-free bread when I go visit her, and I'll eat it because it's so fun to have some bread, but I don't feel well even when I eat gluten-free products. And they're so laden with like extra sugars and stuff, just trying to steer clear of it. So I opt to be gluten-free, and I know that it's got so many ties to its benefits for people with Hashimoto's. So if you have Hashimoto's, if you're in a flare-up, maybe consider going gluten-free for a little while and just see how that affects you. See if your symptoms change. Okay. The next piece of this, number 6, is something that I will do for a few days a week, but not permanently because I'm way too stuck in my ways. Try removing dairy from your diet. For some people, that's really easy. For me, I love my non-fat Greek yogurt. It is so high in protein. It is low in sugar. It's a staple for me. But right now, in my flare up, I've backed off for a few days. So I've gone whole foods, no processed foods, kicking out the sugar, and also taking out the dairy for a few days. That means no cottage cheese. That means none of my favorites. It's recommended that you try it because there's a study that showed that 75% of people with Hashimoto's were lactose intolerant. So if you put that on top of the symptoms that you get from Hashimoto's, you're really not going to feel well. There's an autoimmune protocol, the AIP diet. I've read the book. I've thought about trying it. It's really restrictive. It involves cutting out almost everything that makes you happy. So I have not done it myself, but you can look into doing the autoimmune protocol, the AIP diet. It will say that you're going to take out dairy, grains, beans, legumes, nightshades, nuts, seeds. I mean, basically, you're going to be eating air, but you might feel better. So always an option to go there. Maybe that works for you. For me, it's just a little too restrictive. But what I do is I take like 2 to 3 days of taking dairy out. I get things to calm down a little bit, and then I go slowly introducing them back in. It is so important for me to hit my 150 grams of protein a day. That's what I do to sustain my muscle mass and to keep body composition going in the direction I want it to. I am a work in progress, but that's what works for me. So consider dairy-free, maybe for a couple days. Okay, the last piece of this is my favorite. It's the most important to me, and that is commit to your regular physical activity. I have come on this podcast so many times talking about midlife women, what we need, how we need to move, how we need to be strong, how we need to focus not on being skinny, but on being our most powerful, strong selves. And that means we need weightlifting. When we say commit to physical activity, you got to think this umbrella. And the umbrella, like we have all these things in the umbrella. What do we love? What do we love to do? Do we love weightlifting? Maybe not. Do we love riding bikes? Do we love swimming? Do we love yoga? What is it that makes you happy? Get that under the umbrella and then know that you've got all this other room for the other things. So what we truly need, if we are suffering from Hashimoto's, we need to be building that muscle mass. That is going to help to push the metabolism when your calorie burn starts to slow down because of your thyroid not working. You know, the furnace is going out, you're starting to slow down. So we need to build muscle mass because having more muscle is going to make us burn longer. We need to think about lessening, especially if we're in a flare up, lessening those long endurance things that bring me so much joy. Don't get rid of them, but lessen them. So that needs to be a little bit shorter. You need what makes you happy. You need to be building muscle. You need your mobility, your flexibility, and your stability work, all the ilities. So you need to be doing things like yoga or Pilates, some stretching. That's going to be really important for when you're dealing with painful joints and pain in your muscles. You've got to have that stuff. You do need your cardio. But what happens to the cardio, like just what I was alluding to before, it has to get a little bit shorter. You have to button it up. You have to make it intense and short because you, my Hashi's friend, don't recover as well from long distance, especially in a flare up. And you need lots of walking. And the walking, there are numbers that you will hear all over the place. Some people say it's 7,200. Some people say it's 8,000. Some people say it's 10,000. What are the steps that make you feel like you have walked with purpose, that you have cleared your mind, that you feel better in your body? Where are you right now for your steps? That's probably the best question. If you're at 2,000 steps a day, great. Can you get to 2,500 this week? And then next week, 3,000? Can you slowly bump up? It doesn't have to be all out. When we look at the umbrella, we need to make sure that the recovery that comes with that umbrella. Like the recovery comes with the weightlifting. The recovery comes from your power yoga practice. The recovery comes with everything that you do. You've got to make sure that you're giving your body enough recovery after, feeding it well, working on your sleep quality, working on things consistently, but recovery comes into play. When we don't give our bodies the recovery, you're going to go right back into the flare up. That autoimmune is just going to be so freaking pissed. It's going to be lit. You've got to learn how to pull back the reins. I've pulled back the reins, but I still get after all the things I love. I just do it a little differently. So for me, in this current flare up that I'm having, I am lifting my weights, but I pay attention to my Whoop score and my recovery score. So I won't push it as hard or as long. So for example, today I walked for 30 minutes and then I did a 25-minute shoulder workout. And I was not aggressive in it. I got uncomfortable, and that's what I needed because I'm listening, I'm dialing in. I don't want to put myself one step down each time, dig that grave. I want to be rising up. I want to be feeling good every day. So in this flare up, I'm lifting my weights. I'm walking. For my cardio, I'm doing like 20-minute sessions, just shorter and sweeter. I'm doing my ilities. I'm doing my symmetry exercises every day. Which are corrective exercises for my postural muscles. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing stretching. So I'm getting my ilities in. I'm covering the basis for what I need, but I am making sure that I'm also getting time outside in nature to walk, getting light in my face, getting that green therapy. That is all part of the recovery too. So we've got to make sure that we're committing to regular physical activity, but at the same time, we're not crushing every single day like maybe we did, pre-Hashimoto's or when we were in our 30s. But I just want to hit home on that one point about your strength training. If you are concerned about weight gain in Hashimoto's, you've got to make sure that you've got a really solid, good strength training plan that you're staying consistent with, because again, that muscle mass is going to be so crucial to supporting your metabolism. And I've got a free 4-week strength training program for women in midlife. You can grab that. I'll put it in the show notes. If you are new to strength training, make sure that you're starting slow and low, and then start to build up. But making sure that you're getting your muscle mass where it's going to support your metabolism is going to help you. Okay, so if you are in a flare-up, if you've ever been in a flare-up, if you ever come into a flare-up, take these 7 things, make a list, write them down, and then try to slowly go through each one. Maybe you're going to practice one piece of it for a week. Maybe it's going to be the nutrition part you start with for a week. Then maybe the second week you add in the strength training. Try not to do all 7 at once, but make sure that you're giving your body a chance to really come out of that flare up, to really thrive. Again, Hashimoto's, it can suck. It can totally suck. But it's not a sentence. It does not mean that we're destined to feel like crap. We've got so much more power than that. I hope this has been helpful. If you know someone who is dealing with Hashimoto's or has an autoimmune disease and they're in a flare-up, please share this with them. These tips are helpful for so many different things. And I truly hope that you are feeling badass, and we'll see you next time on the Badass Reset Club.